All right, so what we're going to cover today, again, is operations and maintenance. Remember the difference between the two? Operations and maintenance. What is operations? So what do you do on an operations side of the O&M? What's operations consist of? That close. The maintenance is more or less the equipment, the physical asset. The operations was what? It was like housekeeping, right? It was what? Windows, it was parking lots, anything that what supports the client or the tenant in the building. Okay, so that's the operations piece. So part of the operations piece, obviously, you're going to have to document. So we're going to talk about how do you do that? You know, how do you do prepare the work orders or the service tickets, if you will. Same questions that you're going to ask our facilities folks here at ASU. So we're looking at a maintenance operations plan, a building operations plans, two different ones. Okay. Look at what a comprehensive facilities plan is, such as emergency preparedness would be included in that. Because part of your equipment is life safety. So all the annunciation horns, the strobes, the fire pumps, the jockey pumps, fire risers are all included in your overall maintenance plan. Okay. We'll talk about a facilities occupant support plan. So anybody that resides in the building, anyone, even from the receptionist on up to the VP of operations or the president, they are considered our customers. So these are occupants of the building. Okay, so we're going to provide a service plan for these individuals when they call and request service of facilities. Okay, so of course with that, a quality control plan, we have to what? Measure how we're performing, especially when it comes to the service side. Okay, but it's extremely subjective on what's going to be considered good quality or poor quality. So we'll review a couple surveys, which are also in the book, by the way. We'll review equipment systems and building structures, and then, of course, EPSs, or engineered performance standards. That's on the maintenance side. So these, the engineered maintenance standards, are really is what their time studies. How long does it take to change a light bulb, on average? Or change belts on an air handler, or replace a valve. Okay, so we'll cover on how do they accomplish that, how do they perform that. Okay. So let's take a look at the operations plan. Facilities operations and maintenance is the heart of any facilities organization, and I hold this true. Without an operations organization within facilities, you have construction within facilities. Remember, I shared that for the first class that we had. But the operations side is the heart and soul. It's the heart and soul of any facilities organization because that's where we perform the work. We are providing what support to the occupants of the building, regardless if it's catering, if it's conference centers, if you got manufacturing or production, if you got administrative. Okay. So work control methods and procedures. So one of the items is to manage resources as wisely and responsive as possible. Response time is critical. Okay. Why would response time be so important? Costs money. Okay, downtime. We talked about the unexpected downtime. And what's the big deal if you got a 3-inch water line flood in the basement? I'm on my lunch break, right? I mean, I can get down there by 1 o'clock, right? How much water does a 3-inch line put out? Enough to probably fill up the basement, right, by the time you finally respond with your tools. So response time is going to be extremely critical. Even if it's picking up a wastebasket, they're asking for service. That's what we do in facilities. We are a service provider. Okay. Another item would be synchronizing skills, tools, equipment, and material as optimally and smoothly as possible. So one of the other attributes of a good operations plan is you want to synchronize all these properties. Example. Okay. Say, for instance, I do have a water leak. I hate talking about water because you know why? Because somewhere like across the river at my site, something's getting ready to leak. That's because I hate talking about water. So I'm going to knock on wood 3 times and then it won't happen. But say, for instance, I do get a water leak in my cafeteria, right? Who would I need to respond to that water leak? So one, I want to call the fire department. Don't respond. It's accidental, breakage. There's no fire and so on. But I want to validate that. But when they talk about synchronizing, right? Who else would I need to call for this water line, sprinkler line break?
Well, it depends on where it is.
It's in the kitchen.
It's in the kitchen, so
yeah.
There's obviously somebody who's in control of the kitchen and has to know about it.
Yeah.
You got to have a team that's already prepared, that you already know who's going to be on.
A disaster recovery team of some sort.
Whoever that is.
Okay.
You got that person on.
Good. Okay. So part of that would be probably the custodians. Probably my mechanics with wet vacs, because obviously water is all over the place. Probably electricians to what? Start de-energizing a lot of the equipment in the kitchen in this example here. Okay. Other folks would probably be some sort of remediation contractor, depending on how much water, okay, has been, flooded that particular. Sure, right? Since it is in a kitchen, the health department, because the sprinkler water, can you drink sprinkler water?
Oh my God, that's gross stuff.
It's like you got to be a tough person to drink that stuff, right? Well, it's like coffee 202 or something, yeah, right? So.
Like gallons of kid. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. You're worrying me. Okay. Yeah. No. Yes. No. Actually, this is a fire sprinkler. No, you wouldn't have to. I mean, not even Survivor Man would want to do that, right? No, because that's petroleums and oils on it, and it has hazardous waste. It's considered a hazardous waste too. Okay, but again, synchronizing your team, that's what it's all about. Making sure that you got the phone numbers, the contacts, and the individuals know their responsibilities. Same thing if you had a power outage. Okay, you had a disconnect that tripped. You would have the same team that would be synchronized, made up of contractors, electricians, and maybe some of the occupants as well. Okay, and again, smoothly and as optimally as possible. Okay, now work control methods is what allows this to happen. So a work control method is what? It's a process. This happens, and that's what? It's a reaction to another function. Say, for instance, the work control desk in a facilities organization. Every call that we receive goes through a control desk, regardless if it's a fire line leak or if it's a landscape or if it's a request for building a new office. It starts at that point. It's the focal point. Okay, so this is the heartbeat of the facilities organization because everything starts at that point. From that point, they disseminate it. Right? Because if it's going to be an O&amp, it's going to be construction, if it's going to be custodial. So what they do is they're a coordinator. They coordinate those, okay? And they identify which area that this is going to be sent to, who's going to be assigned to. So just note that and make a mental note on that heartbeat of a facilities organization. These are the work control centers. All the work is funneled. Everything that comes in is one point. There's a security question. There might be maybe one of the emergency phones on the light poles is out. It goes all through the work control center. Everything goes through there. It's tracked, it's assigned, and then the quality control, right, on response time is how soon did we respond to it. Okay. Other items that they must be coordinated. Okay, so all the work tasks are going to have to be coordinated as they come in. Okay. So why can't I just assign this to whoever? What do you think? Have chaos? Okay. So when you go on your tour, make sure that you make a note and just ask the individuals, well, who provides your electrical support? Do mechanics do that? Or do you have electricians do that? Trust me, they're going to say, no. Mechanics do not touch anything electrical. It's ours. They touch all the mechanical. Then you ask, how about controls? Who handles the energy management controls in your facility? Okay, who supports those? Okay, some questions to ask. Planned, costed, scheduled, and then measured. Okay, as I mentioned before, it's what? It's a service that we're providing. Why would you want to measure that? What's the significance of measuring how you perform?
Well,
The what? To improve, okay. Opportunities.
well, you want to know what it's going to cost you next time.
Yeah, so you're building what? Historical data, right? The typical response time to a call or a request, okay? So they've broken it down. One would be the responsibilities. Who's going to be responsible? Getting back to that example I gave. Electricians respond to electrical outages. They support electrical maintenance. And they support maybe electrical construction related items, okay, within facilities. Other levels of responsibilities within facilities, you'll have HVAC systems. So these are going to be maintenance technicians or mechanics that support the air handlers and the heavy equipment, okay, air distribution systems. Okay. Then you've got technicians, you've got plumbers. Who else would support the facilities? Any other specialty crafts? We got the mechanics, we got the electricians, we got the plumbers. Yeah, IT. You're going to have some supporting the supporting what the software, right, within the organization. Okay. Security systems. How about carpenters? Yes.
Do IT fall under operations and maintenance or
Yes.
facility?
So it's bundled, okay? It's completely bundled. And depending on the organization, I would imagine ASU probably has carpenters, probably have a carpenter's shop, okay? And again, they do a lot of it internally, okay? At General Dynamics, 10 years ago, I used to have a carpenter's shop. But it got too expensive with benefits and everything that we out-tasked that. So now we have a general contractor that does all the millwork and the cabinetry and so on. For that, it's, for me, it's more cost, advantageous. So plumbers, you got what? Controls, you got painters, okay? You may have technicians with specialties, such as for some of the heavy equipment, okay? You may even have other specialties, such as roofing. If you have a lot of area under roof, you may have a certain area within your operations and maintenance. All they do is provide maintenance for roofing systems. So they'll conduct the inspections, they'll plan the replacements. Okay, they also perform some of the maintenance or out-task the maintenance. Okay, so it really depends on the facility, on which way you're going to go. Some cases they have gardeners and landscapers that provide that. I think ASU, I think everything's done here. I think it's very seldom. I think it's mostly construction. Probably, John, right? That's out-tasked typically when you build a facility or a building, okay, in regards to that. Okay. What's some of the benefits of having an in-house crew? What do you think that? Flexibility. They know the facility, if anything else, right? They know the clients, they know the customers, okay? Other benefits is probably some level of loyalty, okay, in regards to the organization, okay? And more importantly, they know where things are. Shut-off valves, disconnects, right? Okay, special access. They know all the hiding spots, right, throughout the facility, okay? How about staffing and location? Where would this work control center be? Where do you think you'd want the work control center? Out in the middle of the parking lot somewhere? No, not the basement. Who said no, not the basement? No, Paul, we're not going to put it in the basement, okay? You'll probably want it someplace where it's centralized, right? One is easily accessible by the customers because you have walk-ins, right? So in a facilities organization, it'll probably be somewhere in a central location, okay? So that's the question to ask is, where is your service desk? So how do you receive your calls for these 2 central plants we're going to tour next month, okay? So location is going to be extremely important. It's got to be accessible, okay? It's got to be easily found. You don't want people wandering throughout the facility trying to find facilities operations, right? Okay, and probably signage, okay? And the last one would be the elements. What kind of support are you going to provide? Forms will probably be there, some sort of work take-out ticket where they can actually submit their ticket there. Typically though, today, it's all online. You'll log on to the website and then you'll put in your request. It's very seldom, okay, that you're going to get. Now the walk-ins will probably be if they're walking by facilities and they say, hey, can I have 2 chairs removed or picked up, they're salvaged and so on. Okay, we still get occasionally those. Okay, or maybe. Oh yes, there's always a trail of project managers. Okay, going through facilities. Okay, and asking that. Okay. Now there's also reporting. Remember, we're tracking all this information. So one of those would be the maintenance report. Okay. So part of that, again, is data collection. And what do we typically collect data in a maintenance organization? What's it called? It's a test. It's on your quiz. Yes. What's the database called? Come on, Jack. Help him out. Jack. No, Jack. Computerized. Maintenance. Management. Good. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Everything that comes in is going to come into that computer system. And rightfully so. Because now what you can categorize it, you can query it, and you can run reports off of it. Okay. How would this support my strategic plan for maintenance? I mean, I got all this cold data now, every breakdown, every call I've had, every failure I've had. How is that going to support my strategic plan for maintenance? What am I going to do with that?
You can make decisions based on.
How? How can you make those? Okay, historical data is an excellent one. Okay. Any other thoughts? Yes, maybe by trends, right? Okay, looking at a particular trend, maybe these particular air handlers are at the end of life. So that's going to support my capital plan.
They're breaking down when they're high loads.
Yeah. would be another one. Okay, so that's why it's extremely important to report the information and management, and also have a quality assurance program to make sure that it's continually tracked. Roof leaks would be another one. We mentioned before history, right? Maintenance and machinery history, breakdowns, failures, mean times to failures. Okay, parts. How about if the parts start to get obsolete? They don't make a 13.25-inch belt anymore. They're phasing them out. Now what do I do? Well, I can modify the sheave and pulley, right? That would be one way to fit a 14-inch belt. But in some cases here, then the following year, the valves are being phased out. So now I don't have any replacement valves. So at some point, part of that strategic plan is the equipment I plan to replace because of obsolescence. And I look at the equipment, and yes, I've had it for 40 years. I hate to see it go, but I can't no longer support it with parts. Okay, and then training would be another part. Okay, so maintenance quality goes right hand in hand, right? Performing the maintenance on that particular unit piece of equipment. Again, it's machinery, it's highly hazardous, okay, and it's very dangerous in some cases. Okay, so again, a good maintenance quality plan. Okay, my pet peeve is not removing the packaging material. Okay, going up to an air handler room or a mechanical room, and there's a stack of motors that have been laying there for 10 years, and you can tell how many times we've replaced motors because you can count the motors and there's pellets. It's like, well, are these like the replacement motors? Oh no, they're used. They're all burnt up. Well, what do you keep them up here for? Because it's too much work to drag them across the roof. Well, yeah, because you can what? You can turn them in for the scrap. Or better yet, you can turn them in and get some sort of deposit right on the next motor. But really, so part of the quality is going to be housekeeping. Okay, one of my pet peeves, again, is, and that's what I'm curious to see in the 2 central plants for ASU, how clean are they? And I warned Polly about this. I says, I'm going to be nosy. I'm going to look in the cabinets, underneath, the white glove thing. Okay, all right, so. I mean, as long as it's a mechanical room. Okay, but again, make sure that there's housekeeping. Okay, coatings on the floor to minimize leaks. Everything's labeled. Everything's tagged. Right, you got the signage. Okay, maintenance out planning. Now, remember we talked about deferred maintenance. Okay, in some cases you'll want to what time send the maintenance, part of the out planning procedure. Okay, so what you want to time because what we want to minimize the downtime to customers. Okay. Budget planning, it goes in hand because what I have to fund my maintenance operations, labor, maintenance, if it's outside services from a consultant or a specialty contractor. So all this historical data, all this information is going to build my budget year after year after year. Now that's going to be critical, right? Especially right now I'm in a downturn. So I'm looking at all my equipment, every time I maintain the equipment and how many times it's had any failures, and I'm making adjustments on my labor. And you'll be surprised the dollars that you'll save, but I want to do that intelligently. I just don't want to go across the board and cut everything. Okay, so certain things that I've got to look. So say, for instance, I use the analogy on your vehicle. What do you cut out? Tires, brakes, or windshield wipers? Well, pick, right? Well, I really do need brakes, right, to stop the car. No windshield wipers. Okay, so when it rains, I pull over to the side of the road and wait till it stops raining, right? Tires, I just can't go more than 2 blocks at a time. But, in this case here, priority is probably going to be brakes because I'm having a hazard to other people. And then you kind of prioritize it. You do the same thing in maintenance. So you're going to prioritize what's going to be considered, what I would consider mission critical maintenance requirements versus, reoccurring routine maintenance, such as drinking fountains. Okay, if I'm going to, again, I make the adjustments to my labor, I may let the drinking fountains run to fail. I mean, they're still squirting water, right? But it may not be cold water. But in that case there, I don't have the labor anymore that I can perform the maintenance on the drinking fountain. I flip that around, but it is, say, a data center for the gen sets or the transfer switches. I can't really play around with that too much. Okay, logistics and personnel training, where they're located. Okay. In some cases, if it's a large facility, you may have different areas or different workstations. Okay, and with that, they have a small store. So that what saves them travel time. Okay, you'll be surprised how many times you walk up and down a roof, 2 or 3 flights, or take the elevator because I forgot a 1/2-inch wrench. Oh, I forgot to get the 3rd belt because it wasn't in my kit. Okay, so logistics is going to play a big part on where you actually identify and locate this maintenance. Okay. Organization. Large campus like ASU, I'd imagine they got different shops throughout the campus. It's a large campus. Okay, so that way it keeps what the travel time down to a minimum. Okay, and probably you can probably regulate your materials a lot closer too. Okay, then the last item in an operating report is vendor management. How often are you using your vendors? Okay, so in a facilities, typical facilities maintenance organization, you'll have everything from filter vendors. Some of the big folks you probably recognize would be Granger's, huge supplier of maintenance materials. Smith Pipe would be another one. Summit Electrical Supply would be another large vendor. The who? Graybar for electrical, okay, components. Motor supply houses, equipment, valving, you name it, plumbing, fixtures, and so on. So the vendors could be providing materials and supplies, but they could also be providing labor. So part of the report is how often am I using my water treatment and what's the cost. Okay, for me, water treatment, and you'll see that 2 weeks from today on a typical water treatment program. And again, you'll see it again when you walk through the central plants, how critical it is to have a quality water treatment program, especially if you run a central plant, chillers and boilers, okay, because of what the acids and the chemicals will do to the interiors of these large, expensive machinery. Okay, so one of those items you want to manage is the vendor management on what their level of quality is. Again, you measure them just like you measure yourselves, okay, within your facilities organization.